Look, let me start with Dr. Lewis, and I've had the privilege of working with her even before becoming mayor. I want to thank her for her leadership when it comes to rail and Gulf Coast Rail. So really appreciate her and her work at Texas Southern University. And let me just say, it's a pleasure to be here for my. Is this the 7th or the 8th? I don't know what we did during COVID. Did we not? I think we missed in 2020 and then picked back up again. So I am honored to be here this time as well. Look, when it comes to the last year, you know, I don't rush anything. So I'm just taking my time, and I know Mustafa and I are going to sit down, but you know, I have a few things to say in this last deal. I do want to acknowledge, of course, all of the 52 elected officials here from all levels of government. There are other mayors here, and I'm not, you know, give it up to the mayors. And then there are county commissioners who are here from the region. I really appreciate them and collaborating with them. There are county officials at all levels that are here. Appreciate them. And then there are my city council members who are here. And if you allow me, you know, they're voting on my budget in a few weeks. So will all of the Houston City Council members stand? Dave Robinson, Vice Mayor Martha Castek Tatum, Councilmember Carlos Cisneros, Mayor Pro Tem Dave Martin. These are all my special friends. And when you're presenting your last budget, you know, I just love them dearly. You know. Let me say that I reflect back when I first came before TAG on the state of transportation. Pat Walsh was director of planning at the time and worked with me closely and prepared the remarks that I had to make. And I went back and I pulled that speech that I gave when I first came before TAG, and really appreciate his work and the legacy that he has left behind. I want to thank, too, all of my department directors that are here who often go unknown and unrecognized. They're not elected officials, but they are the ones who helped me to get the job done. So if you are a city director or a city employee, please stand and so you can be recognized. Carol, all of them. Thank you so very much. These are the people that make the cruise ship work, and I certainly appreciate them. And as Pat Walsh kind of wrote the comments some 8 years ago when I first, Dave Fields now has stepped up in this role, and much of these remarks will be credited to Dave Fields. So I really appreciate all of them. Let me do this, and then we'll sit down and have a conversation. When I stood before you 8 years ago in my first State of Mobility address, I stood up here and I used words seldom heard before in the city of Houston, and I promised a transportation paradigm shift. I promised you change, not because it was politically expedient, because the old way of not working simply was not working for us in the region. And I talked about transit-oriented development with multimodal investments. I talked about, Sanjay, upgrading Metro's outlook for the future with long-term capital plans. We talked about an efficient freight system. We talked about, Elijah, working together, coordinating, agency coordination. And then we talked about funding. How do we get all of this accomplished? And where does the funding come from? And Houston is a city known for big, wide roads and fast driving. We were also known for potholes, crashes, and of course, worst of all, fatalities. I promise you change because potholes have no party affiliation. I don't care who you are. Crashes keep Houston from being the great city that it can be, and fatalities are just 100% wrong. And what we've all discovered, and certainly what I've discovered, promises are easy, words are easy. Making change is oftentimes very hard. They change when you think big, you put in the work, and everyone plays a vital part. I'm here today to ask you in many ways to kind of look around the city of Houston and see whether or not the vision is coming into reality and whether or not the hard work of the people that I've already acknowledged. And I do want to acknowledge Metro. I talk more about them in it, but Sanjay and all the board members, if you'll stand. Tom, if y'all will just stand up. During my tenure, I've had 2 chairs. Karen Pappen was the first, Sanjay Ram is the second. And, but there's been one CEO throughout it all, Tom Lambert. And Tom has been with Metro now for 44 years. Tom, just stand up. And so, some 8 years where we are today, what I can say to you is that there is more transit-oriented development in this city. We have updated the Metro plan with Metro Next, with a long-range capital plan. The focus is heavily on multimodal forms of transportation with greater connectivity and focusing on even more green space. And Elijah and others, there is more coordination. And let me add, with the bipartisan infrastructure funding and the Inflation Reduction Act, there is more funding. Our new vision starts with the one thing that everyone can agree upon is that one of our primary roles and responsibilities in government is to ensure the public safety. But for too long, we have not fulfilled that safety obligation on our roadways. In 2022, over 300 people were killed and nearly 1,600 people were seriously injured on our streets. Those numbers are alarming, but our Vision Zero program has us on a new path. And while citywide crashes have increased by 12% since 2014, crashes have decreased by 26% on streets that were rebuilt since adopting Vision Zero. And I want you to think about that. It's a 38% difference. It means that the places we fix right. And that is the path, yeah. That is the path to safer Houston streets, and I hope our future embraces this success and broadens it to make our streets even safer. Now let me say, the paradigms don't shift because of one person alone. Our transportation paradigm is shifting because every partner in this room is thinking about all the ways you can travel. And looking back, we have learned what happens when we only build roads for driving, then all people will drive. And when we invest in transportation choices, people use all of those choices. They may not use them all at the same time, and they may not use them at the rate and pace we would like for them to use. But you have to remember, especially for those who are native Houstonians, our culture was driving, cars and trucks. That was our culture. And the way past leaders designed this city, it was designed for cars and trucks. And that was our mindset, and that's how we operated it. Well, when you start to redesign a city of 640 square miles, don't expect everybody to run to that all at once, because they will not. But times are changing. Greenhouse gas emissions are increasing. And people simply don't want to be in traffic all day long. And so even after you have built it, it takes time for people to redesign their minds, even when you have redesigned their streets and communities. But it doesn't mean you don't build it. Because as my daughter would say, if you don't build it, then you are building a city for yesterday. And the generations to come will hold us accountable for what we did not do. So you build it. And then you work and educate and let people know you don't have to be fearful of change. Change is inevitable. And that is why Metro's Metro Next plan is so important to Houston. A complete transit network supported by 70% of our voters for fast, frequent, reliable services citywide. And the route that is so important today, the University Corridor Bus Rapid Transit Corridor, 25 miles long from West Chase Park and Ride on the west side to Tidwell Transit Center on the northeast side, connecting people, jobs, and schools, and providing opportunities for transit-oriented development at several locations. And this project will fundamentally change our streets. With buses and dedicated lanes in the middle of the street, everyone should know about this project. The federal government certainly knows about it, and Metro has already accelerated their delivery, working concurrently on 3 BRT routes, 3 boost routes, their bi-directional HOVs, university accessibility at over 4,000 stops, and light rail extension to the courthouse. And I want to thank Metro for all of their work, and we thank the Biden administration for including $150 million for the university corridor in the fiscal year 2024 budget. The federal government has been a very active partner in our paradigm shift. They have committed to investing in safe, multimodal streets across the nation, and they are showing their commitment right here in the city of Houston. Since the passage of the bipartisan infrastructure law, Houston has received nearly $50 million for safer streets. This includes capital dollars for Telephone Road and Bissonnette Street. I want to give Public Works and Planning plenty of credit for the work that they have done. I accept the money. They helped to bring the money. So thank you all so very much. Plus planning dollars for Hillcroft Avenue. That's in addition to Metro's $20 million for electric buses and planning for transit-oriented development at the Tidwell Transit Center. And my thanks again to the Biden administration for validating our vision and investing in Houston's new transportation system. And I mentioned the Biden administration intentionally, because when I'm going back to D.C., I want to send this tape to them, a video, to let them know how appreciative we are in Houston. Paradigms are shifting on our roads, and they are also shifting in how we work together. You have heard me say over and over again that the North Houston Highway Improvement Project can be transformative only if the partners can come together. It's a transportation project that can right historic wrongs of flooding in Houston's neighborhoods. It can help people walk, bike, and ride transit and drive. It can serve to connect neighborhoods and not separate them. It can add to green space and not take it away. And it can do all of that while keeping our residents in their homes. All those goals are now possible because the city of Houston, Harris County, TxDOT, all came together and agreed to a path forward, with the Federal Highway Administration confirmed that they will help us all stay on track. But I want to thank TxDOT. And Elijah, please stand. Representing TxDOT, this afternoon. Thank you. This project will be the first step in a different view of regional transportation coordination, one we hope can be the foundation for a new paradigm across the state of Texas. There are so many more partners around our transportation table that deserve recognition. Our federal representatives for going to Washington, D.C. and coming home with funds to help us do this work. TAG for your tireless advocating for the region. TxDOT for investing in safety funds in Houston this past year alone. Harris County, TERS, and the management districts for all your investments in safe, multimodal streets. Our airports, Mario Diaz, for being recognized as a 4-star for Intercontinental, a 5-star for Hobby Airport, transporting more than 52 million passengers on an annual basis. The Port of Houston for its widening and deepening of the channel to bring in more of the larger ships into our area. It is a testament to our paradigm shift is Shepherd and Durham, which includes portions being reconstructed by 2 TERS and the City of Houston, reimagining the corridor for all users to be able to move safely, and our city staff for working on the aspirational goal of Houstonians being able to drive while drinking a cup of coffee without spilling it on their shirts and their ties. They have addressed nearly 70,000 potholes last year alone and almost 500,000 since the beginning of my term, rehabbing nearly 250 miles of streets last year and over 1,000 lane miles since the start of the Mayor Street Rehabilitation Initiative in 2020, and retiming over 800 traffic signals. All of these things have occurred over the last 8 years. I'll end with advice from my daughter, who says, don't imagine what Houston used to be. Imagine what Houston can and should be. Houston's new transportation paradigm is now set for that future. And as my term comes to an end, no mayor can rightfully claim mission accomplished. But what mayors can do is pass the baton to the next mayor, with the city having moved further down into the future in the right direction. And I stand before you unapologetic in being able to say to you and others, this city is in a better place than it was when I inherited, and I am prepared to pass the baton to the next mayor, and I hope he or she will keep it on track and keep it moving in a positive direction for the future of Houston, Texas. Thank you for allowing me to be your mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. As always, you have brought energy into the room. I want to begin here with a program note. Before, just to show you how much infrastructure has been done in your tenure. When we started out, we met for this event years ago to ask you to come here.
Yes.
My meeting after that was with our sponsors here at Sesco Cement, who were in the process of building the largest cement terminal in the Port of Houston, in the world. Their video said that they're 20% of the market in cement in our region. As I was coming up early, they said, no, it's 21%. Within the time of your tenure, there's been tremendous amount of success and work been done in building the infrastructure in their community. And I want to talk about I-45 for just a quick minute.
Sure.
Last time we were on stage together here at TAG, you had spoken to Chairman Buggs. He had announced that he had spoken to you. You had announced that you had spoken to him. Apparently there was a deal that had come into place. And then it took a year to get to this point. Our county attorney is here, Christian Menifee, who's taken a great part in putting that together as well. I want to ask you this, because there's a lot of public officials, appointed officials, a lot of agency leaders here. What is the lesson for us as we move forward? Because certainly we're seeing funding come in, but what do we have to do in order to be successful in the next 10 years?
I think just we have to stay focused on the people that we have the responsibility of serving. And I do think you have to keep people at the center. And then we have to take self out. I think we make a huge mistake, not just on projects of this kind, but on anything, when self is at the center and the people are behind us. So I think if we keep focused and then continue to ask the question, what's in the best interest of the people that we're here to represent, I think eventually we'll get to the right place. What that also means is that nobody is absolutely right 100% of the time. And it's all right to yield, okay? And it's all right to compromise. And compromise, it shouldn't be a negative anymore. You can start here, but if each party takes a position that I'm absolutely right and you have to come all the way over here, then you're not going to achieve very much. Or it's going to take much longer to get to where you need to be. So everybody has to realize that, Mustafa, you have a right to your position. I have a right to my position. But if you hold to yours and I hold to mine and nothing moves, then we both lose. So how do we get to the best solution possible where the people end up the recipients, the benefactors of what we do? And I think even in this project, at the end of the day, where we ended was not too much from where we started. Mm-hmm. It just took 2 years to get there. But it's not like when you look at the end result, you have a drastic new plan. And I think that's the lesson learned here. Now, we're moving forward. We do have a collaborative approach, but it's going to cost us all more because inflation has risen, and we're not going to be able to do as much as I would have liked for us to do, for example, between now and when the World Cup comes to the city of Houston in 2026.
So I want to build on this. And you've taught me, Carol said that you're not intimidating. I've been on the other side of things with you. You're pretty damn intimidating. I've been on those phone calls with you. And we've known each other for a long time. And
I'm so nice. I am so easy.
I will say this, and I think it's important for people to know. When the chips are down and you're facing something difficult, there is no friend like Sylvester Turner. That I have seen you come to people's rescue. I have seen you move mountains for people. And for that, the city is a better place for it.
Thanks. Thank you.
I see our Commissioner Briones and Sanjay here in the front end. You talked about the university corridor. And there's a lot of excitement about that. It's one of the, I think the only project in Texas like it, and the amount of funding and the vision for it. How much urgency is around this to kind of move quickly on this project in your mind?
Well, there's a lot of urgency around it. A lot is tied to funding. And when the funding is available, you have to take advantage of the funding, like right now. I mean, other cities are not waiting around saying, well, let's make sure Houston gets what it wants, and then we'll come behind. Other cities, we're all competitive. Cities, counties, states, we're all very competitive. When funding is available, it's important for us to put together plans with the consensus from our region that we can say to the powers that be, we are ready to go. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Biden administration went and put $150 million into their 2024 budget on this project, because they were convinced that the Houston region was, in a sense, ready to go. They are looking for shovel-ready projects that they can hold up and say, look at where these dollars are being invested. And so we have to work out, you have to have the community engagement. That's very, very important. You have to have the consensus. You have to work with all of your stakeholders. But we need to move with the greatest degree of urgency. And one of the things that we've tried to do over the last 8 years is be very result-oriented. Don't spend a whole lot of time going back and forth and getting nowhere. No one benefits. So this project, this university line, one of the largest in the country, 25 miles, it will be transformational for our area. When you're talking about from West Chase to Tidwell and beyond, it's over $1 billion project. And I give a great deal of credit to Metro, to Sanjay and the board, and all of the staff members, the collaboration with the county, with all of the partners to getting us to this point. Now we need to do everything we can to close the deal and get moving.
You were talking about your conversation with Liza Paul at TxDOT, the county, HECTRA, City of Houston, Houston-Galveston Area Council. I feel like there's never been a point where the different agencies are talking more with each other today than we've had in recent history. What is it that we need to keep doing in order to build on it rather than go backwards?
Look, everything is relationship-driven. Okay? Elijah and I have known each other for quite some time. I worked with her husband in the legislature. We work together. So relationships mean everything. Because when you establish positive relationships, you establish a lot of trust. What people don't even know, I talk with folk on the other side of the aisle all the time on the phone. They'll call me, I'll call them, and just say, hey, what in the hell are y'all doing up there? Give a brother a break. I mean, and for people would probably be surprised at who will call your house at 11 p.m. at night. I'm talking people on the other side whose politics is probably as far away from mine. But you have those conversations, And, there are times when I say, okay, you do whatever you got to do in front of the television, as crazy as it sounds. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to work together. So relationships mean everything. And I think it's important, never make things personal. It's hard to bounce back when you make things personal. People, I think, can understand when you're passionate on the issues and when you're passionate on things for the people and the districts that you represent. That goes a long way. The relationship that I have with the mayors in this region is great. I view them as friends, okay? Doesn't mean we don't differ, but we don't fall out. And I think we should always reach to the point where at the end of the day, regardless of where we stand on the issues, we ought to be able to go to breakfast, lunch, or dinner, have a drink, and we'll be okay. And when it gets beyond that, where you can't stand to be around folk, then you got a problem, because then it becomes highly, highly personal. And so in my time in the legislature, and even as my time as mayor, I try to stay away from personal issues. Even on city council, we don't engage in, with few exceptions, we don't engage in a help us, Lord. We don't engage in personalities, with few exceptions. Every now and then somebody, goes astray. But the key is in those moments, you don't go with them. You let them go themselves. And people will show who they are if you allow them to go themselves. And there are times, and councilmen will tell you, I have my little ball that I hold under the table, and I'll just squeeze the hell out of it. Or I'll go silent, and or I'll just start counting to myself. So you don't want to add to a chaotic situation. And when that happens, I think you can make progress and you can move forward.
Well, let me, when we asked you to do your first State of Mobility 8 years ago, I remember we were in your office, we had talked about that you had just gone to TxDOT Commission and you've talked about multimodal. And we thought, as we looked around, we always did events with individual agencies, but nobody ever put the whole picture together, and that you came and began to do that with us. And we rolled out our mobility map, our motion map, which takes all the projects from the region and that are not funded in one place.
Right.
So I'm going to ask your permission to run a short video about our motion map, sure. And then I want to ask you a couple of questions about that, and we're going to start wrapping up the program right after that. So with that, if you can run the video of motion map, I'd really appreciate it.
Represents the priorities our region needs to keep up with the growth. It has the PEL studies, the highway projects, the toll road projects. I think the motion map is a great tool to use in my role when I'm looking at future development in our region.
The motion map represents encapsulation of the wide array of needs for improved transportation in our region. I use the map to understand the bigger picture. It's also a resource to help stakeholders communicate with state and federal partners, which is why the motion map improvements around transit and other travel modes are so welcome to me. People move about our region in many ways: walking, rolling, biking, riding transit, and yes, driving too. All are important, and all are increasingly reflected on the motion map.
We wanted to talk about that, the motion map, because it really began with your vision of, it is not a choice between BRT versus cars,
right,
or train versus other elements of it. And TAG has overseen itself as a transportation mobility community where we all come together as equals, figure out solutions, and move them.
Right.
As you look towards Houston's future, you talked about passing a baton. I know you asked me to try to figure out some ballot initiative to extend the terms. I explored that with the city attorney. He said I couldn't do it. No.
But you can still write my name in.
Mayor's encouraged a writing campaign.
Now, let me stop that right now. I don't want anybody to get mad with me. No, when December 31st, 11:59 comes, I'll be still signing some executive orders by then. But no, it's if I could stay, I would stay. Let me quickly say that. I still believe the term limits only for the city of Houston is wrong. County doesn't have them, state doesn't have them, the federal government doesn't have it. I do not understand why Houstonians would impose something on itself when nobody else does it. It makes no sense to me, but I'll leave that for future Houstonians to deal with. But what you can do, what we try to do, is do as much as we can while we can, and then try to give the next mayor and city council as much of a runway to continue to build. And I am hopeful that the next mayor and the city council will do even greater than what we have been able to do over the last 8 years.
Can I ask the board members, Jack and others, to come up real quickly? Mayor, we wanted to commemorate your leadership for our city. You are truly a Houston's mayor. You have brought people together. You've tackled difficult problems, whether it's from pension or transportation, throughout your tenure. And I think that sometimes those of us in politics, we like the battling of back and forth and as a source of entertainment. And I've seen you tackle very difficult issues. And just when you thought Sylvester Turner was going to be really tough, he's gentle. And when you thought Sylvester Turner wasn't pushing, God, you know how to bring a bulldozer to a fight. And so you've always been a leader. And Jack's going to talk briefly about an award, and then we love to present it to you. And thank you for all the leadership that you've provided this
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mustafa. It was phenomenal discussion, and Mayor, just, I'll be looking for that writing campaign. I'll think about it. In my house, we're all voters in my house. It's a sin not to vote in my house. All right, so if I could turn the attention and the mic over to our colleague, my friend of 20 years, one of the co-founders of TAG, Jack Drake, and he was going to offer the mayor a token of our appreciation. And meanwhile, I'll ask our board, phenomenal board, to come up and join us.
You know what? We're going to stand there. We're going to let Jack. No. Sanjay was trying to make a move for it. Jack, please.
Jack.
What a story. What a story. Sylvester Turner was born in Acres Home, went to Harvard, then to Austin, and back to Houston to work for us almost 8 years ago. Mayor, you supported TAG even in your youth. Yep. Attending many meetings, shaking hands, kissing babies and such. And you were part of our mayoral forum during the 2015 election. In fact, and I know everybody would agree, we think that your performance that day with 7 others on the stand before that TAG audience is pretty much why you won. Is that right? The power of TAG. Now that you've spoken to TAG for the 8th time, we think it's about time that we thank you with more than a free lunch. Because, truth be known, we do that for most speakers. So, let me say this. What could it be? Mayor, as you hold this, and maybe show it to others out here, this is an authentic seafaring compass. It is an appropriate gift for you, sir. Por ejemplo, why? For example, because you have kept your bearings. You have steered a steady course. You have advanced us across rough seas. You have been a good and worthy sailor. As captain of the good ship Houston.
Thanks, Jack.
And because you have led boldly on mobility, The inscription reads, "A true paradigm shift for Houston's transportation." TAG is proud of you and the voyage you have commanded. Join me now, fellow mobility advocates, in appreciation of TAG's faithful friend and our transportation advocate, our mayor, Sylvester Turner.
God,
So proud of you.
you're the best, man. Thank you.
You're the best.
We want to grab you for one last thing. If you want to, we have a member of our tag group that's
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much, the mayor, insightful comments. But we do have one more piece of business before we let everyone go back into the world. But, you know, again, another bittersweet moment we have is that we want to share is unfortunately, but excited for her, Esmeralda Tamayo, who many of you know and love, and a invaluable a member of the TAG team will be leaving us shortly for another opportunity. And we are very selfishly sad that she is leaving. I know I am personally. But then again, super excited because it is a new chapter, and know that she will continue to rock it out wherever she goes. And if she could come up and join us, because on behalf of TAG and the entire board, we want to thank you. And I think we should give her a standing ovation and round of applause for all that she has done for TAG. Yeah, we'll take one more picture. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Esmeralda. Thank you so much. We appreciate. Thank you so much. So, did you want to conclude? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Just want to thank you so much from myself and the entire organization. And also make sure that you note our next event will be June 8th. Everyone mark their calendars, June 8th, with WTS Women in Transportation. We will be celebrating women in transportation that have graduated, interns, and those studying in transportation. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a safe journey wherever you go. We'll see you soon.